Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Look That Up, the video series where we take two random words randomly generated by a random word generator, and then we look it up to see what kind of visual images we can find. So I just clicked on the randomly generate words button, and I don't think we're going to go with this one. No. Click Coast Dynasty. Coast Dynasty. Let's find out what happens when we look up the phrase Coach Dynasty images. Oh, we're going to get a lot of what? Fantastic. What a bright, happy page. Wow. Oh. Florida Gulf Coast Dynasty. Coast Dynasty. This has to win, I think. Probably. It's got a little eagle. It's from Florida. That's not necessarily great, but Coast Dynasty. Okay, so what's interesting is it really picked up on the kind of West Coast, East Coast battle between rappers. It picked up on that heavily, evidently. The Dynasty part is gonna be a little difficult, I'm afraid. It's just not as obvious a search term. Paintball, rapping, and then this guy. Our bountiful dining issue. We crash the brunch bash. Uh-oh, I made chickens. Wah wah. Is he gonna cook and eat them? Or is he just gonna happily play with them? I would do the latter, honestly. Because chicks are adorable. Little baby chicks with their little peeping. Peep, peep. Peep, peep, peep. Too cute. Too cute. A lot of this is very confusing to me. I mean, I get the reference to the television shows. I get the reference to the East Coast, West Coast battle. But some of these things are just curious to me, like Joan Collins upon Livewire. Inside Douglas Adams? This is confusing to me. What does this have to do? Oh, because she was in Dynasty. That makes sense. Oh, and if you look over here, it tells you what it's picking up on. It's picking up on the word coast, and it's picking up on the word dynasty. Okay. Okay, I get it. See, but you're being a little literal there. I want you to think outside the box. I want you to think bigger. I want you to think better. I want you to think, what is this, like the Tao Te Ching? I really wish I read this, but I don't. Oh, but I get it. Dynasties. Chinese dynasties. Depending on what coast you're on. Okay. I'm getting it. I'm getting it. Some of these images, I'm getting a little risque. Help me out here, Safe Search. Help a buddy out. Coast Dynasty. Nothing says Coast Dynasty more to me than an SVG image of a magnifying glass, most likely for use within some sort of imaging software wherein you can zoom. Coast Dynasty. Coast of the Balzac family. Confusing. Very confusing. Okay, Dynasty. I get it. I get it. Egypt, actually, interestingly, really very bicoastal. Very bicoastal. you had your northern delta region, which to them they called the south, the bottom, because that's the direction that the Nile runs in. The Nile runs backwards. And then you had your upper Nile, which for us would be the bottom of it, which it neighbors Nubia. Very bi-coastal, the ancient Egyptians, and possibly the modern Egyptians. I don't actually know much about modern Egypt. I don't want to fall down a toilet rabbit hole or anything here, but what? I mean, come on. Really? And then what? Who would not want to have business here? You know? Wow. Lions? I wonder what happens with this panel. Oh, that's to get to the tank behind, because you've got to be able to access that tank in case you need to jiggle something. Where is the flusher? I'm not seeing a flusher. Does it know? Does it have motion activated? It might. Maybe you poke one of the lions in the eyes. Just... That's possible. How are these things related? Would you tell me? Oh, come on! Okay. Coast Dynasty. Fascinating. Wow, that's a big boat. Holy cow. This was a thing that really existed? Holy Jiminy Christmas. Against what are they comparing it? Well, that's not a real website. Too bad. Look at this. That's a funny looking little specimen. What is that supposed to be? That's supposed to be a fish? Really? I am sorry, Ming Dynasty, but this is at best a beached manatee. On a good day, it's a beached manatee. Everybody knows fish tails are up and down. Mammal tails are side to side. Everybody knows that. Fish know that. Mammals know that. Cartoon fish know that. It's not a big secret. This is terrible. You're better than this, Ming Dynasty. You're better than this. What else we got going on here? We got, ooh, look at these little guys. Well, they're kind of funny looking, aren't they? Oh, these are some Olmec. Cool. I'm really a big fan of the Olmec style of design. I really like the way that they design their human figures. They're all really they're super solid. And I really like the design of their heads and stuff. Oh, they're facing off against a jaguar. This is a really liberal interpretation of what I would consider to be a jaguar. Maybe it's just not as obvious because he's facing away from us. Maybe we can find a different... No. Maybe there's a different angle. No. 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 Well, I'm sure there would have been if I would have kept looking. All right, so we're picking up more on the dynasty aspect of these things now. It's getting less and less about coasts and more about dynasty warrior weapons. Hello! Brilliant. Who doesn't enjoy cosplaying dynasty warriors? No one. No one doesn't enjoy that. It's maybe the most enjoyable thing you could do on a Sunday. Wow, what a lovely gown. Coasts. The Voyages of Zhang Ha. That's a lot of voyaging. Oh, it's the Ming Empire, everybody, aka the doesn't know what a fish looks like empire, just hanging out, being next door to the Mughal Empire. I'm assuming the Mughals knew what a fish looks like, but maybe none of them did, and that's why they're not really around anymore. I mean, Asia's still around, obviously, but yeah, it's important when you live, coastally like this, that you know what a fish looks like. As I study this more and more, it makes really perfect sense as to why Google came up with this image. Look at how much traveling along the coasts Zhang Ha did. from the Ming Dynasty. Kudos to you, Google. All right, we got one more thing we're going to look at. Let's find a good one. And then, well, kiss. Yes, please. So, okay, they're going to be at the Gulf Coast Coliseum, so that takes care of Coast. Not entirely sure why Dynasty. Maybe because, as a musical act, they really are dynastic in a lot of ways. You know, their hair, the way it falls on their shoulders, very similar to the traditional cap worn by the pharaohs of old. Cats were quite sacred as an animal. Gene Simmons. Yeah, we're going to leave that there. Good job, everybody. Coast Dynasty. Yes, please.